I will call this meeting to order. We will note that Dr. Eversole is absent, and we will say the Pledge of Allegiance. Attention, salute, pledge.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Item B is a vote to approve or not approve the appointment of Brittany Bloodworth, Board Clerk, and Shauna Batson, Deputy Board Clerk, effective July 1, 2022. Do I have a motion?
I'll make a motion to approve.
Any discussion? Ms. Walker? Ms. Kaufman?
Aye.
Ms. Crawford? Aye. And aye. Item C, presentation by Danny Ray for District General Liability Insurance and Workers' Compensation Insurance. If you want, whatever you're comfortable with. We don't have a microphone, so
I'm staying right here.
that's fine.
So the reason I'm here is because OSIG carries our property and general liability insurance from the school. And a little bit about me and our agency. We are Bank First Insurance Services. We have over 100 public schools and state private universities insured in Oklahoma. We're the largest locally owned private and public school insurer in Oklahoma as far as agent. And I am your new agent. Corbin Jarvis was the previous agent. Corbin and I were at the Grandview since the third grade, so in our best friends. And when he took a little early retirement, I said, I want Tahlequah. I went to Tahlequah, and also at Greenwood as well. But to get to my point, when I received the renewal from OSIG, I asked for an Excel spreadsheet on all the schools with their square footages and what they were insured for, because the total values. As I began to go through them, some of the schools, and I put a spreadsheet in your packet, and I also gave you one today. On this spreadsheet, it shows you what the expiring amount of insurance was, what the price per square foot, what it's insured for, the price per square foot, and then what the new proposed value is and the new price per square foot. Some of the schools you can see were insured at $82 a foot, some were insured at $116 a foot. And what brought this on is I sit on the master planning committee at Newcastle Public Schools, where my kids go to school. And we have been getting bids from builders for a bond project that we're getting ready to move forward. The majority of the bids, we had 3 builders come in. The average bid was around $330 a square foot, just to build a K-12 school. Some of our schools were insured at $82 a foot. So you can see, I thank the Lord, we haven't had any type of incident where we've had a major claim, because there wouldn't have been enough insurance on the policy to cover the claim. So to protect Tanya, to protect you as a board member, we went through and audited the whole district, and which created an additional need of about $63 million in values. That's how much we were underinsured. And we're doing this with all of our schools. As a matter of fact, OSIG, we've jumped the gun, and this is just something that we are doing with all of our schools. OSIG decided, Houston Carrier decided that they were going to do this too, because they paid a claim, the previous FY21, and there wasn't enough insurance on the building to pay for a replacement. So the reinsurer told OSIG that they need to go back and do an audit and do a new assessment of all their insurance. So we're kind of leading the way, and OSIG now is doing this as well. They're not doing it because of us, they're doing it because they're treaty with their insurer. So that's why we've got such a jump in premium and jump in values. You are paying around 27 cents per hundred. Your rate is 27.8 cents per hundred for your insurance. And what we do is we take the total insurance value, divide it by 100, divide your premium by that, and that gives us the pure rate that Tahlequah Public Schools is paying per $100 in value. You're paying 27.8 cents. Your homeowner's insurance, you're paying about $1.20 per hundred. So OSIG is doing a fantastic job of keeping the premium down and the cost down for our schools. They're doing a fantastic job. But I'm here because of the jump in the values, and I wanted to be able to explain that to you as I have Tanya and Sabrina. So, any questions?
I have one.
Sure.
So on this first page here,
Yes.
talking about the deductibles.
Uh-huh.
And
Yes.
then you come over here, so are these true deductibles or are these true?
This is your property deductible, and this is your deductibles for crime, the cyber
But wouldn't
liability.
the crime hit property?
No, crime is a separate coverage. You have a property deductible, and you have a wind-hail deductible. Your property deductible, let me turn it back on that page. Your property deductible, you have a $50,000 flat deductible, and then you have a $50,000 wind-hail deductible. Most of the carriers in Oklahoma are going to a percentage deductible on wind-hail, and you'll probably notice that on your homeowner's insurance. OSIG is still one of the only carriers, and it's just because they just insure public schools, but they are keeping that deductible to a flat deductible where it's not costing the schools as much money to pay for some of these roofs like it is with other types of businesses. Did I answer your question?
Yeah, I was just concerned,
Yeah.
because also it comes down here with terrorism, which I would consider a crime, but it's in a separate place.
Crime is, an insurance company, a commercial insurance company considers crime as monies and securities, employee dishonesty,
Okay, that's what I need to know.
that type of thing.
Right.
Vandalism, malicious mischief, that is all gonna be under property. What you're thinking, you're on the right track, it's just that crime piece is a totally separate type coverage.
Makes sense. Okay.
The increase in workers' compensation, is that just our general inflation?
Just OSAG, all they do is just insure public schools. And you will see OSAG go up and down. Last year, it was down a lot, it's because you received a dividend. There wasn't that much of a dividend to give this year. I think you received 5,000, 5,500, something like that. So it didn't bring it down as much as it did. Next year, if Tahlequah has a profitable year, they're real good about getting those dividends up. And a dividend is just an overpayment premium. That's all it is. It's not like something special. It's just you've overpaid, they don't give it back to you.
Any other questions? And this is just information at this point because we will get later on somewhere else, okay?
Well, I'm happy to be here. Anytime you need me, Tanya has my cell phone number. Any questions, I'm always good. I appreciate that.
And you're welcome to stay, but we also won't be mad at you if you leave.
I will leave.
Okay.
You can have a chair for someone else, please. Thank you.
Thank you. Item D, public to be heard. I'm going to read the rules. And I have to apologize a little bit. I went to 2 softball games last week, and then we had a baseball tournament this weekend, so I have yelled a lot in the last week, so my voice is a little scratchy. Public to be heard. Members of the public shall be allowed to attend all meetings of the Board of Education. In addition, the Board of Education will have an item on the regular meeting agendas that affords citizens the right to address the Board of Education on items pertaining to education and/or the operation of the school district. The item will appear prior to any business being conducted by the Board of Education. A resident wishing to address the Board of Education must fill out a form before the meeting and submit it to the board clerk. The speaker is to move to the lectern on being recognized by the board president and give his or her full name and address. The speaker will be allowed 5 minutes to address the board. The board and administrative staff will not respond to questions or comments at the meeting. The resident may receive a written response as soon as possible. Questions and complaints relating to employees of the district will not be permitted at this time. Such questions are to be referred to the superintendent at another time. Presentation or discussion of matters which are currently under legal review will not be permitted. And our first speaker is Kathy Cott. We have your time on the board up there to let you know how much time you
I'm
have remaining.
concerned. I have a scratchy voice too. I'm Kathy Cott, I live at 1214 South Cross Avenue in Tahlequah. I'm not an expert in the field of gun safety, I'm just a mom. We considered the safety of our family as our kids grew up and took precautions in our home. We never considered the homes of friends or our kids' friends' homes and if they were securing the weapons they owned. That was very short-sighted of us. We were lucky. This resolution is a small step towards safer environments for our children. And if reading and signing of an informational document when enrolling their children causes parents or guardians to really think about their safety precautions at home, and it saves one child, and I think it's well worth it. And I really encourage the board to pass the Secure Home Storage Education Notification Resolution tonight. Thank you.
The next speaker is Suzanne Hathaway.
Good evening, my name is Suzanne Hathaway. I reside at 21477 State Cross Mountain Road in Tahlequah. I'm here tonight to speak in support of the pending board resolution regarding safe and secure storage of firearms. My husband, Bob, and I are both graduates of Tahlequah Public Schools, as are our now grown children. Like many members in our community, my husband and I own and legally use firearms for recreational sports, training, and hunting. But in recent years, we've observed that firearm safety and security measures haven't kept pace with the increase in firearm ownership in this country. A group called Everytown USA estimates that there are nearly 400 million civilian-owned firearms in the United States, and more than 1/3 of homes in America contain at least one gun. The Centers for Disease Control reports that in 2020, firearms were the leading cause of death for children and teens aged 1 to 19 in the United States. Every year, 18,000 children and teens are shot and killed or wounded, and approximately 3 million are exposed to some type of gun violence. Now, while the statistics and percentages don't always translate to a relatable experience, here's one that I believe is relevant to all of us here today. 63%, nearly 2/3 of gunfire incidents on school grounds occur on K-12 school properties. Children and teens in the U.S. are impacted by gun violence in all forms. Exposure to gun violence has an impact on the psychological and mental well-being of children and teens and affects their school performance and other factors. When homes, neighborhoods, and schools are not safe from gun violence, entire generations of American children are affected. As responsible gun owners, we can make our homes and communities safer by storing firearms unloaded and locked. Ammunition kept in a separate place to prevent access by children and other people who are at risk of harming themselves or others. Research from the Be Smart program shows that these storage practices can play a vital role in reducing the risk of gun violence, particularly among children. The overwhelming majority of firearms used in school gun violence incidents are obtained from the shooter's home or the home of relatives. A U.S. Secret Service study which targeted school violence from 2008 through 2017 showed that 3 in 4 school shooters used a firearm they took from a parent or close relative's home. In nearly half of these shootings, the firearm was easily accessible or was not stored securely. In response to concerns about other public health issues, American school systems have stepped up to educate students about safety and prevention on matters from fire protection to the dangers of alcohol and drugs. Since 2019, school districts across the country have passed resolutions to require that information be sent home with students to educate parents about the importance of securely storing any firearms they own. There are countless partners and resources available, and a collaborative effort between school personnel, law enforcement, parents, and others with the knowledge and training to contribute could be a model for use in other areas of school systems. Programs like Project Child Safe have distributed more than 36 million free firearm safety kits to gun owners through partnerships with law enforcement agencies. I encourage each of you to consider expanding the important and ongoing role public education can have in protecting children and ultimately saving lives. I also have, I don't know if this is permitted, but I have safety information from 3 gun groups, a manufacturer, an advocate, and a safety group, if anyone would like to see those. Thank you.
Thank you. Our next speaker is Bob Hathaway.
I'd have paid $20 to have gone before that. My name's Bob Hathaway. I did 12 years at Talbot and finally finished up at 62. Went to Northeastern and then on to OSU for a degree after my military service. So I'm rooted here, and I'm concerned about some of the same things that I think we all are now. Things seem like they're almost out of hand. And a good place to start is home, because I think we all know that frequently whatever happens at home ends up at school. My dad taught at Tahlequah High School for over 40 years, and he used to bring home some of the most interesting stories you can imagine. It was better than any kind of television program, just to know what happened on a day in and a day out. But it was all something that started at home and came to school. So while this is an initiative to provide educational and training for the home, I think it's incumbent to consider that if the kids are trained with firearms safety and respect the firearms at home, that will have a tendency to hopefully ameliorate, behavior at school. There's always going to be some kid that brings a gun to school. If you haven't had it happen this year or last year, I'm amazed, because even back in my day, which has been over 50 years ago, someone would bring a weapon to school. And hopefully, if that was going to happen currently, it would at least have a lock on it. Suzanne mentioned that there are a number of different supportive groups out there with regard to material to help you. This isn't like you have to sit down and invent a curriculum. They provide gun locks. Earlier today, I did a review for Project Child Safe, which is one that I don't know that it's the best one. It's just the one that I took a look at. It seemed to be a pretty good match for the resolution that you have before you. That program is available in Tulsa, Muskogee, and Wagner. It's not available in Cherokee County at this time. So you would be at the forefront of taking the initiative, which I think is the best place to be. It's called Project Child Safe. If you just Google child safety, you'll come up with a number of different programs. I like it because they do distribute free gun locks, and the kids can be trained so that, they come home and they can say, this is how you make a weapon safe here in the home. So many of the accidents at home are just that. They're accidents. They're playing with a weapon as if it was a toy. It's not always an aggressive behavior that causes the loss of the child. And to reiterate, I think if your action tonight saves one life or prevents one injury, then it's certainly worth your consideration. I do want to thank you for the job you're doing too, by the way. I think you, of all the elected people in this part of the country, you have the toughest job. And I trust you to do a good job. I've read the resolution and I stand here in support. Thank you.
Our final speaker is Pam Moore.
I'd have given $30 to go. To make this a fundraiser every year. I'm gonna use glasses on my own. I wrote down most of mine because I was to go longer than I should. Thank you for the opportunity to speak today in support of this home storage firearms program resolution. The purpose of this resolution, as I read it, is to educate and remind parents of the responsibility to secure firearms held in their home and their role in reducing deaths of children by gun violence. This resolution will strengthen the public safety net that we already have in place in Tahlequah. That's the work of law enforcement, schools, hospitals, and community agencies concerned with the health and welfare of our children. Parents as partners with that group reduces the risk of gun violence, and strengthens the efforts of these community groups who are dedicated to improving the safety, health, and welfare of our children. By way of introduction, like I said, I'm Pam Moore. I've lived and worked in Tahlequah since 1975, and I'm going to add now that the reason I moved to Tahlequah, I was transferred by my company because a man was chasing me with a gun, me and my son. And I felt like I should be moved for my child and my safety. So that's how I came to be in Tahlequah. And it was the Tahlequah Police Department that helped me stay safe, my son and I. And as a result, I ended up working for Help in Crisis as their first director. So I have had some experience with gun violence. I'm also a gun owner. And I have 2 children who went through the public school system. Thank you for your patience and your expertise, because there's no way I can homeschool. I think the parents who try that are much braver and stronger than I am. But I am here because I have friends who have grandchildren and children in our public schools. And I felt like after the Uvalde shooting, I could no longer face them if something happened, if I didn't stand up at least for a step in the right direction and toward a more reasonable approach, a safety-based approach, because we do have a good, strong safety net in Tahlequah. We have a shelter, we have child protection teams, we have all kinds of edgy stuff. Tahlequah has always been on the cutting edge in this field. And after I left Help in Crisis, I did victims assistance with homicide survivors at the DA's office for 8 years. I did 3 years with Christian Children's Fund. The last 20 years of my career, I was a consultant in going to communities, rural communities throughout the nation to train communities how to build their safety net and how to keep families safe from gun violence, domestic violence, and intimate partner violence. So prevention is what I learned is the key, and this is a step toward prevention. And it's not invasive, it does not involve any, go against anybody's rights, constitutional or otherwise. And so I just ask you to consider this newest evidence that Bob and Susanna presented, which supports the need for prevention. Let's stop it before it happens. Let's take the step. Not inaction is a decision as well as action. If you don't act, it's the same thing. So I want to just quickly go over what I pulled out, which is, I'll go over it. According to the New England Journal of Medicine, May 2022, and the Center for Disease Control, gun violence or motor vehicle crashes have become the #1 cause of death for children under the age of 20. Now, I come from an era where, I lost several friends over the years, particularly in senior in high school, to car crashes, car collisions. From 2019 to 2020, this flipped. The relative increase in the rate of firearm deaths of all types, suicide, homicide, unintentional, and undetermined, rose 29.5%. More than twice as high as the relative increase in the general population. So that 29.5% is for children, not for the general population. Promoting safe storage in homes where firearms are kept is an opportunity for schools to remind and inform parents of their responsibility as firearms owners. Responsible firearms owners have a duty to protect others as well as their own from accidental or intentional harm. For children, 65% of firearms deaths are homicide. 35% are suicides. You got the rest. Thank you for letting me speak. And thank you for the work you're doing to make a better place for our children.
Thank you, Ms. Lauren. As we told our other guests, you all are welcome to stay as long as you want, but we also won't get mad if you leave at some point. That concludes public comment. Item E, discussion and vote to approve or not approve the minutes from the previous meetings.
I move to approve.
Any discussion? Ms. Walker?
Aye.
Ms. Kaufman? Ms. Crawford? And aye. Item F, discussion and vote to approve or not approve monthly financials report.
I only have 5 minutes.
Start the timer. Kidding.
Alright, so bank balance, May 31st, we're at $12,499,958.57. You can see that on page 2. Receipts for the month of May, general fund was $3,113,790.90. You can see that on page 6. Building fund, $18,719.76. You can find that total on page 8. Co-op fund, we had a deposit of $500. You can see that on page 7. Bond fund, we sold those bonds at the May board meeting, so you'll see a deposit in there for the $99,500. That's on page 9. Seeking fund, $83,227.02. You find that on page 11. So general fund total for the month of May, $9,298,717.20. Building fund balance, $577,455.25. Bond fund is at the $99,500. Sinking fund, $2,638,905.01. Move on. To the activity account, or I'm gonna go to the fund balance. You notice that at this time last year, we have a 2.7 million increase in our general fund cash balance from last year to this year. Activity account, at the end of May, we had $988,262.22. You guys have the utilities in there for March, April, and May. And I went through and made notes about each one of them. March, we saw a decrease in gas, $65,000, which last year, you know, was when we had the huge increase in the gas. So we had a huge decrease in that. And then we had an increase in electric of like $2,042 in the month of March. April, we had a gas increase from last year to this year of $5,136. Our electric increase was $2,146. And then for the month of May, we had a gas increase of $822. And we had an electric increase of $15,791. So we went from flipping the gas, having the heat on, to having the air on. Kind of explains that. And then on the next item on the closing of the activity account, number 2, that is just there used to be a theater trip account 932, and they are gonna move that money directly into a theater account that was already open, so they're just dissolving one, moving all that money to the other. And that's it. You guys have any questions?
Thank you.
Okay, you're welcome.
Child nutrition.
Good evening. So, child nutrition, we have been serving meals for summer school, and that started May the 31st. And we'll be serving those through the month of June to the summer school participants, as well as offering a week's worth of meals every Wednesday. Curbside at Cherokee and delivery to Fox and Garden Walk. The current meals served so far this year, we served 3,193 breakfasts and 3,959 lunches for summer school and Fox and Garden Walk and curbside. Due to the USDA waivers ending on June 30th, we will not be serving meals during the month of July. And also USDA, as we know, I don't think it's gonna change at this point, I could be wrong. But they will no longer allow free meals for all students next school year. Students will be charged for meals based on their pay status, which is determined by their submitted free and reduced application. And a new application has to be submitted every year. Applications will be available online, which is a great thing that's happening this year. They'll be available online through Wingage, probably mid-July. As always, we're going to stress the importance that all students complete an application, whether they think they qualify or not, because the district, of course, receives their funding based on those applications. So our district parents are absolute rock stars, really, when it comes to the applications. My state consultant, my boss at the state, always comments to me about how many parents we have that turn in applications in comparison to other schools. She told us we were rock stars, so I'm very thankful for that, and I expect no less this year. I know they'll be great, especially since they can do it online. That's gonna help out a lot. Short of that, we're just getting ready for the new year, and we need help in our kitchens, employees. So if you know anybody, send them our way. Every Tuesday from 10 to noon, we hire on the spot during June and July. So if you know somebody, send them our way. And that's it. Any questions?
On the online form, so I know on the paper ones, there was an option where you didn't you could write over income, like you didn't have to actually put will you be able to do that on the online form?
I'm gonna call Wingate tomorrow and
Let's
find out.
figure it out.
That was something that was brought up
Some parents
today.
know they're over income, but they don't wanna write down how much money they make, and we
I
give them
get that.
an option.
Yeah, I get that, and a lot, it's like I was telling Ms. Jones today, a lot of people on the applications, they'll write in $1 million per month. Or, so that they know they're gonna be over income, and that might be something that we have to look at, but I will find out from Wingate, because I've never actually, well, yes, I did go in and put an application in before the end of the year, but I will find out and get back to you on that.
What would be if they extend the free meals for everyone, what would be the latest date which that may happen? I mean, it could be up till school starts, right?
It's USDA, so.
And we raise prices too, or we are.
No, we do not have to raise prices, the state of Oklahoma received a waiver, we were going to, I told her initially we were, but they just received a waiver from USDA that, we do not have to, it's a long story, we don't have to fill out a PLE, which determines how much we have to raise our prices, we do not have to raise prices this year. So, if all goes well this year, we will probably definitely have to raise prices next year, cause they'll make us do the PLE. And just for clarification, I don't know if everyone is aware, USDA sets those prices, the school district does not, we just have to do what they tell us to do. So, anyway, that is it.
Thank you.
Yeah, child nutrition, we rock and roll.
Do I have a vote to approve? Further discussion? Mrs. Walker? Ms. Coughlin? Aye. Ms. Crawford? And aye. Item G, discussion and vote to approve or not approve Sabrina Garner and Kenny Jones as authorized signer on federal claims for the TPS district for the 22-23 FY. Do you have anything else?
We just added myself to that. In the past, sometimes it's just been one name, but we've learned in the past, we wanna double up on anything. And so we wanted to have two people that could sign off on federal claims.
Ms. Walker?
Aye.
Ms. Coughlin?
Aye.
Ms. Crawford?
Aye.
And aye. Superintendent's report.
Well, I don't know if I'll be 5 minutes or not. I can be very lengthy myself.
That's your first one, I'm gonna set a
Yes.
timer.
So, some of the things that I wanted to talk to you guys about today, summer school, we have sessions going on at 4 of our sites. And we have, at pre-K, it's all 21st century grant funded program. We have 50 enrolled students, and actually 10 of those are virtual, but parents are just coming to get information and chosen to participate virtually. They're doing small group instruction, STEM, hands-on, everything is hands-on. They're doing some reading buddies with TMS, so we're working with some of our other summer school programs. And we have, like I said, it's a very small ratio. We're very lucky with that grant that we have quite a bit of money in there. So we have a few kids with an adult or a teen mentor or a college mentor. Our elementary program is also 21st century funded, but we also use some Indian Ed for that. We have all of the elementary K through 4 kids at Cherokee, so all 3 elementaries go together for summer programming. It is K through 4 because our 5th graders go ahead and go up with the middle school program. We have 203 enrolled, which is a huge summer school, with about a daily average attendance of 160 students, which is still fantastic for summer. We're doing a lot of reading and math instruction, but instead of just doing more, just reading and math, we're doing a lot of art and music and PE and Native American culture. We're doing a canned food drive for our day center. We're doing art contests. We can't change a lot in a few weeks of instruction, but we can make them love school, which I think in turn makes them do better when they do return. We also have in that building a Javits Gifted and Talented Camp, and we are serving 125 plus of our gifted and talented students in grades 3 through 5. They're doing 3 different weeks, and those kids are divided up into those 3 weeks, and that's all with a creativity and STEM emphasis. In the afternoon, we have 100 to 120 kids that stay for the remainder of the day. And Boys and Girls Club comes in and funds most of that program. And they're doing fun field trips, movies and water parks and things that a lot of our babies don't ever have a chance to get to do. So we're super excited about the things we get to take them to with that. TMS holds our 4 through 8 summer school, and they're averaging about 50 kids every day. And that's a big deal for middle school, because getting middle school kids to come to summer school is pretty hard. But they are doing STEM, culture, they've got clay sculpting class, they're doing cooking, gardening, education, which I think has something to do with it. They go around and play some kind of tech game, Robert, I don't know, education. They're doing fishing, they're doing pre-K reading buddies with some of our other buildings. So everything they're doing at middle school is about enrichment. It is funded through a 21st Century Grant and some of our Indian Ed. They have 27 kids that are also staying all day, so they're staying for the Boys and Girls Club portion. They've taken them to the splash pad, they're taking them to the gathering place, or taking them to bowling. These kids are getting experiences they wouldn't normally get outside of school. We also have summer arts camp that is a cross between elementary, middle school, and we just finished our first session, and they put 2 performances on last Friday night and Saturday night, and if you didn't get to attend that, I highly recommend that you get to the next. There'll be shows again on the 24th and the 25th with the next group of kids. I went to the show on Friday night, and those kids had 9 days together, and they're anywhere from 3rd through 8th. Deanne, that's right, 3rd through 8th? So some are tiny, and I thought, they look like 1st graders, they're so small, to 8th grade students. 9 days of instruction. 3 of those days, the main person was out because she's also the pom coach, and those kids knocked it out of the ballpark. I mean, I don't think they missed a line, ever. The songs were fantastic, the choreography, they did exactly what they're, if they messed up, I did not know. And they loved it, and they're learning about all kinds of things other than performing, and I wish I could have done something like that as a child. But the second session just started, and again, those shows will be at the Performing Arts Center on the evening of the 24th at 7 and the 25th at 7. Our high school also has a summer portion going on. It is Indian Ed and General Fund funded. And the first 8 days of summer school, 45 students have attended and completed 33 semester credits. Thanks, Lacey, for that. So that's awesome. And actually, that was about 2 or 1 today, and she thought there might have been more credits finished by the end of the day. They also have a yearbook class that's done some things this summer, and they hosted a drive-through distribution day, and they gave out over 300 yearbooks. Just want to point out that the THS yearbook is a completely custom, student-developed and designed book. It's the single largest student project of the school year, 176-page research paper with the ultimate goal to tell the story of every tiger. And it's pretty fantastic. If you haven't had a chance to see a yearbook, we have one here if you'd like to see it from the high school. So that's our summer school. Just wanted to remind you that we have some OSSBA training coming up soon. On July 7th, we have a special board meeting here in this room from 9 to 12 with just basic board member training, which I believe is open to the public, and you're welcome to listen, but I don't know that I would come if I was you. We can give you an update if you would like to know. We also have the annual OSSBA conference, August 25th through 28th in Oklahoma City. And Brittany will be getting all those details to you if she already hasn't about who's going, rooms and such. Bond update, we just have a few things that are changed on the plans, so I just wanted to give you a short update on that. This is the athletic facility that's up by the existing softball, baseball fields. I'm gonna say the wrong thing, Matt. That's a baseball field, right? And, sorry, I'm the wife of a coach, sorry, the basketball fan. Very little has been done to this. Matt, off the top of your head, can you speak to what's changed on this athletic facility? Just changed on the storage rooms, dressing rooms a little bit.
Yes. The actual word says storage in the restrooms. Originally, it was more of a changing facility. Instead of 2 urinals and 2 sinks, there was 8 or 9, I think, 8 of them, the original on each side. We added length to the storage for multi-sports to use it, so it wouldn't just be baseball stuff and or softball stuff. It could be soccer and football and athletic training, like hurdles, or it was just a bigger storage area. We did add a garage door on the north end because we are going to heat it but not air.
Yes.
So we wanted ventilation. And really that was kind of it. We were kind of talking about some of the interior, the split face block,
and how we were gonna tie that into the metal. But really, that was pretty basic, that was basically it.
And there are other buildings on this, at this campus, for the lack of a better word, that don't have the rock on them, but because this is being built with bond money, it has to meet city requirements for so much block, so there is block or rock around the building, that's why it's a little bit nicer than the others.
And it will mimic the existing block that's around the press box area.
You do the next one, Robert, or whoever's doing that for me, that might be me. So this is quite a bit of change, maybe what we talked about at the very beginning of this. We initially started this with thinking that we would turf the inside of the track. But we are changed that to be turf on actually the existing middle school field. Would be used for the same purpose, it's just in a better place. This we can actually use for games, and we would not have been able to use the other facility for games. And just thought maybe it was poor planning just to use it as a practice field. So this can be practice and games. And our middle school facility has always been one of the roughest that we go and play at. We want something that we can be proud of and that our students can be proud of and they can be safe. So all this did was take the turf that was going to be done in the center of the track up to the middle school field instead. Go to the next. So this is Cherokee, and the only thing that's different on this from initial plans is that we flipped the addition off of the end, so it would be off the south end where the covered areas where bus kids used to sit. That's where this office addition or admin building will be. We flipped it so that the SRO principals, the front glass looks on each side of the street instead of just to the inside, so they can see what's that in front of their, Beth Harrington, they can see Beth Harrington and the road in front of it. So that's the only real change that we made on that. You can go to the next one. This is just a picture of what the existing cafeteria will now become the library. Really all we did with that was design how it was going to look. And we will take out the existing stage that is there. And because we were removing the stage that has been there for a while, we're going to use that reclaimed wood in some of the design so that we save some of the integrity of the first stage from that building. This is Greenwood, and Greenwood that's probably the largest change. You can see at the top right-hand corner, that new addition was going to be on the back side of the kindergarten building, but we're going to move it to the front, and it saves over $20,000-$30,000 just on excavation. It also was going to put the building up so high that it would be hard for kids to get down to the playground. And one of the purposes of this building is for multi-handicap classroom and other things like that. The only downside on it is that it keeps, there was not a direct access to the stage, but it's literally through the hallway right there at the stage. So it's more cost effective, will allow us to fix other things in the building instead. And so it is a storm shelter. I did ask them to dress it up a little bit, so on the bottom right, that's what the outside will look like. Because it is a storm shelter, so it's not as pretty, but it will house all of that building in case of tornado. I believe that's all the slides. Go with that?
Yep.
Okay. So that's a bond update. Also, we expect that we will start getting money for these projects late August or September, and we won't be able to really start any kind of projects until we get the money in the bank to get the bids to get those. But we're working on things, like there's one contract on here, so we can do some of the pre-work, so we can be ready for the real building bids as soon as we got the funds. The last thing I wanted to talk about, I might be over my 5 minutes, someone should have timed me.
You're at 10.
Oh. Just want to talk a little bit about school safety, because I know that's in what all of us are thinking about right now. It's what we thought about anyways, and then we just had 2 or 3 things happen. Actually, something happened at a school camp today, I think in Texas. And it's something that I know weighs heavily on the principals and the teachers that are here teaching summer school, and all of us making sure that we're doing everything we can do to keep our students safe at Tulsa Public Schools. So I just wanted to let you know some of the things that we do have in place and that we're planning on working on. First and foremost, I think that it's smart to point out that we have a partnership with the Tulsa Police Department that has an officer at every site. And we are one of the only school districts in the state of Oklahoma that I think that can say that. And that is going to be the #1 deterrent for something happening with us. Having a police car outside and then knowing that there is an armed officer, trained armed officer in every one of our buildings at all times. We have guard shacks for the THS and TMS, and they're been placed in a way that we can see both sides of the high school. The TMS can see TMS, but they can also see the back of THS, so we can look at both entrances to there. We have a grant-provided officer at the Alt-Ed campus who also serves as our emergency management coordinator for the district. We're working on the Rave Panic button, which is something that the State Department is doing free, where we put all of our information so that if something goes wrong, someone within a geofence in a particular area, like if I work here in this building and something goes wrong here, I could report something immediately on this Rave Panic button, and it would take all of our information right to all law enforcement that need to know, all emergency management people. So we're working on that. I think we've got about everything done except 911's working on their portion for that.
Is that a phone app or is it like
It's
a
an
physical
app.
button? Yeah,
An app on the cell phone that every one of our people will then download, and you can't accidentally do it if you're in Walmart. So if you're on Cherokee's geofence and something goes wrong and you're a Cherokee employee, you could report if there was a problem, but when you leave that fence, electric fence, then you couldn't accidentally put it off in Walmart and start a whole crisis that was not true. We have a new locking system. With our COPS grant, we've been able to do some few things, and one of those, we've gone through and rekeyed every door in the district. And if you've been around here for a long time, everyone had a key to everything. You can get in almost everywhere. That has completely been redone, and every door, closets everywhere have been rekeyed. And there are only a few master keys in the district, and some people just have, people that need to have the keys. And that grant also did go bags, so every classroom was equipped with a bag with safety items in it it's hanging by the door in case they did have to leave the room, whether it be a tornado, fire, or a security measure. We also have put in double front door access at most sites. Cherokee's one of those that still doesn't have one, but we're getting ready, as you saw, to change that admin building, so that will change, when we do that, that will have that there. We have comprehensive safety plans for all sites, and we work with this every year, a call list, a list of places we would go if we had to leave the building for some reason, a secondary location if we had to leave the building for that reason. In the COVID, the last couple of years, we've probably not dove into that as much as we needed to, but we know that's something that we're gonna spend a lot of time on this summer and get back so that everybody knows exactly where their safe places are from the places that they might be in their buildings. We have camera systems at all sites. We don't here, but we're actually going to get some here pretty soon, just a couple, to slowly see the outside. We have bus cameras. We've even been able to do some stop arm cameras on our buses with this COPS grant. We do site walkthroughs for safety assessments. We do that with our own officers, but we were just talking today that we can do that with the State Department and have an actual outside set of eyes that might see something that we're missing. So we're gonna make sure we get that set up this year. This week I have a meeting set up with Chief of Police Nate King, and we're gonna start working with them, making sure that we have everything that we could possibly have ready in case of some type of emergency in our city. And that will be just the first of many meetings we will have this summer with all of our SROs and all of our admin in our buildings, and so that we know that we're doing whatever we can do to keep all of our children safe at TPS.
That is it. Any questions? Okay, item I, discussion and vote to approve or not approve the following resolution in California Public Schools: secure home storage and firearm education notification resolution. Do I have a motion?
Move to approve.
Do I have a second?
I'll second.
Do we have discussion?
I have one question, whenever we were talking about the gun safety for home, is that something that the SROs can do with the kids also? Like, talk to them about that?
It would have to be an approved curriculum, come through you guys and have to come through the vetting process. We wouldn't just, I don't think we'd feel comfortable just going out on our own and saying, hey, we're gonna do this. It would be a process, but it could be done.
I was just thinking if the kid, I know, I can use Officer Bell because I, relate to heritage, but I know those kids really respect her, and I was thinking if she went in and talked about if you see a gun and, whatever, I could see the kids, relating to her more, and
I think if that was something that the board and the administration wanted to do, we would have to seek out an acceptable curriculum and make sure that we were within all the parameters that the state and that are acceptable. But our officers are more than trained to deliver that curriculum upon its approval.
because I know we have this resolution and that doesn't, I don't know how we're gonna disperse it, but if it goes to the parent, that doesn't mean the child is gonna, see it, but if they, are taught at school that, we've taught kids that around me, if you see a gun, you go tell somebody if a kid has a gun, or, you get away immediately. You just don't know what other kids have been taught.
Ms. Coffey?
So one of the specific, the SMART campaign that's mentioned in the resolution that's an acronym for, and it is child-specific education. I think the first S is C, and it is a see something, say something, teaching them that guns aren't toys, that you always assume one hat is loaded. And I think the second part of the resolution with the district, and this resolution, to be clear, is our expression to our superintendent and our staff that we want a plan to educate our community about this. The original one that I came across actually had some very specific, put it in the handbook, require a signature, and we thought, we know our school better than a blanket resolution knows our school. So this is giving our administration and staff a little bit of time, we've got a couple of months before school starts to come back to us and say, this is what we wanna do. And I think that all of those things can be part of it. And I also don't think this is a one-time plan. This is we will continue, I think this conversation is gonna spread in communities, that these are things that schools can do that can protect kids. But the final part of the resolution is that the district will work with local law enforcement, health agencies, other agencies and nonprofit to collaborate and increase efforts to inform Topsail Public School districts and parents about secure storage of firearms in their home. I know the SMART program also has some peer education about, we talk about firearms being the number one cause of death. The majority of those were suicides, not homicides or even accidental. And there's a suicide prevention, and we do some of that kind of stuff anyway. There's some specific signs and symptoms to look for to tell, kids if they see their peers exhibiting behaviors, who they can talk to and who it's safe to talk to. And so I think that there is a lot of room for that, and that I'm not an expert, and so I hope that we can find the folks that are experts out there and start sharing that information with the community.
Any program that we try to look for, we look on what's called What Works Clearinghouse, because then it's an evidence-based program, and depending if we use some type of federal funds, if we used our COPS grant or we used one of our safety grants, it would have to be an evidence-based program, so we would start there and see what we find. I think good steps for us, and just even with the meeting with Nate King this week, something that I was going to mention was this. Tahlequah Best as a community coalition that's bringing everyone's strengths together, and that we do lots of things with them. They partner on almost every grant that we have, and they do all kinds of things like with lock boxes for narcotics and things like that. So I think that's a great vehicle for us to get information out to our community and to our schools is through Tahlequah Best. So that's one of the first things that we'll do after we maybe look for some type of curriculum that we could deliver to our kids. And spoke with Officer Jordan today, and he already knew of one. He was gonna go back and check to see if it was still viable curriculum. But I too think that the officers that we have in our building have great relationships with our kids. And they are the perfect people to help us educate our students about this. And then community coalitions, they're the people that help us educate our adults.
Other comments? Just wanna briefly, I brought this resolution forward after the, I guess there was one today, I haven't even heard about,
No
but
children were killed today. The perpetrator was killed before he killed a child.
after the last school shooting, I don't even know if it was the last one, but I, as a parent, as a school board member, I just was, what can I do? And, this board doesn't have any, active role in gun legislation, and this is not what this was about. This was not pro-gun or anti-gun, this was not praising or condemning gun owners. This was, we know, especially in our community, I have guns in my home and I have 3 small children. We know that there are lots and lots of homes in our community that have guns in them, and I was shocked when I started reading those statistics. The fact that gunshots were the #1 cause of death of children under the age of 19, and the number of guns that are in homes, and the number of kids that die by accidental shooting every year and suicide every year from guns that are in their own homes. And I thought this was the perfect opportunity and the perfect avenue for a public school to wade into an issue that we know is an issue without it being some huge political thing, because it was focused on educating our community, specifically educating caregivers in our community. But I do think we need to educate kids too, because, if kids don't know how to do something, they can figure it out on YouTube in 2 minutes. And the only way to ensure that a kid doesn't harm themselves or someone else with a firearm is to make sure that it's secure. And I think this is such a great first step. I'm glad that we have members of the public who support this. I've heard nothing but support from members of this community, and I'm happy to bring this to the board, and I hope that we vote to approve it.
Time for us, we have been seeing something as, just citizens of the United States for quite some time. And it's time for us to say something that, yes, we need to do what we can do, that we're in the business of education and educating. And so that's really the most logical step, is to begin that process of education. And I know there are many people who will say, I understand, I know about gun safety. I know about gun safety, but when I read the resolution, I remember I have a handgun that I've forgotten about that is hidden away, but it's not secure. And I have grandchildren all over the place that it would take, they play hide and seek in closets and those sorts of things. It just really, I don't use the gun, I didn't think about the gun, but it just reminded me, I need to get a lockbox for that. So,
I think that's the goal.
it's that reminder, eh?
Anything else? All right, Ms. Walker?
Aye.
Ms. Kaufman?
Aye.
Ms. Crawford? And aye. Better to err on the side of caution. Item J, discussion and vote to approve or not approve the certificate of authority. Superintendent Tina Jones is appointed as the delegate of authority on behalf of Tallahassee School District I-35 to deal with any state and federal government division in regard to the spending of state or federal monies, and to the compliance of the district with funding requirements, civil rights laws, and special education-related statutes. The superintendent shall have the authority to complete and submit necessary governmental forms, provide governmental agencies with requested information, make application for governmental funds, and perform all acts needed to comply with state and federal law requirements for the receipt of grant money and the protection of civil rights of employees and students. These include Title, I hope my map my room number was good here, I don't know how the heck. Title 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, and 5 formula grants. Title 7 impact aid and Indian education. Johnson O'Malley IDEA programs, all discretionary competitive grants, adult basic education, Title IX official, and supervisor of 504 designations. Dan Mashburn or Carl Reichenhauer shall be designated as the local contact person and the individual authorized to sign in absence of the superintendent. Do we have a motion?
Make a motion.
I'll second.
Any discussion?
Something we would have already voted on, but with the change in my job and the change in Mr. Ridenhour's job, with Randy Underwood retiring, we had to redo it.
Further discussion? Ms. Walker? Ms. Coughlin? Ms. Crawford? Aye. Item K, discussion and vote to approve or not approve the designation of purchasing agents and receiving clerks for each school site as follows. Purchasing agents, athletic department, Matt Cloud and Becky Cole, child nutrition, Dana Dobson, grants and federal programs, Lacey Wilson, individual school building principals, maintenance, Brad Jones and Jana McNeil, transportation, Paul Martin, Teresa Ledbetter, district, Kenya Jones, Sabrina Garner, Karen Arnell, Carl Reichenauer, Deanne Mashburn, and Suzanne Van Zandt. And receiving agents, board office staff, child nutrition, Mark Hooper, individual school site, office managers and vice principals, warehouse, John Baker and Jana McNeil, transportation, Paul Martin and Teresa Ledbetter. Do we have a motion?
I'll move to approve.
I'll second.
Any discussion? Ms. Walker?
Aye.
Ms. Coughlin?
Aye.
Ms. Crawford?
Aye.
And aye. Item L, discussion and vote to approve or not approve activity account descriptions for 22-23 FY. Motion?
I'll make a motion.
I'll second.
Discussion? Just have one comment. I was reading through some of those and a lot of them are spelled out and some of them are acronyms and most of them I knew what they were, but some of them I didn't. So if we could, just next time,
Spell them out.
there was one specific group that I Googled it to find out what it was.
So noted.
Other than that. All right, Ms. Walker?
Aye.
Ms. Coughlin?
Aye.
Ms. Crawford?
Aye.
And aye. Item N, discussion and vote to approve or not approve the following surplus.
You wanna read all that?
No, we don't need to read those. That's a short one too.
Yeah,
We do
that's
have,
short.
we do get pictures in our full agenda of what it is.
I'll make a motion.
I'll second.
Ms. Walker? Ms. Coughlin?
Aye.
Ms. Crawford?
Aye.
And aye. Item N, consent, and I would first ask for an individual motion on item N2, T, and U, because I will abstain from those, so if we could have that motion.
I'll make a motion for item T and U.
In a second.
I'll second.
Chrissy, I'm sorry, can you repeat those again?
N2, T, and U, both of them are with the Cherokee Nation Head Start.
Thank you.
Although I'm not technically required to abstain from those, I'd like to, so, Ms. Walker.
Have we had a,
Yeah, we had a motion and a second.
okay, all right. Aye.
Ms. Kaufman?
Aye.
Ms. Crawford? And I abstain on those two. Now if we could have a motion for the remainder of N1, 2, 3, and 4.
I'll make a motion.
I'll second.
Any discussion? It's a long list.
I wanna see if we can choose which one right
Any other discussion? Ms. Walker?
Aye.
Ms. Kaufman?
Aye.
Ms. Crawford? And I. On to item O, discussion and vote to approve or not approve the agreement with Smith Roberts Baldishweiler? That's my best guess on that one, LLC SRV to provide the surveys for bond projects.
I'll move to approve, but I'm interested in discussion on that.
I'll second. Ms. Jones?
This is to do all site drainage, site utilities, and parking lot design for the new bond projects. And Stephanie and I talked about one of the costs associated with that, it had the cost per project, and then it had a charge of $1,200 for each additional visit. He said that because there were 4 projects, he being JT Point and the architectural company, that they didn't put 2 visits in each of the 4 projects, they did 1, and then just put that as an additional fee if we needed it. He also said that to get any person out, it's anywhere from 1,000 to 1,500, so 1,200 was a pretty good deal for that. It's about 12 hours worth of work, 8 to 12 hours worth of work, and so they get anywhere from $100 to $125 an hour. Yes. Be required for us to do for the bond projects that we have. And we will always put the bond project items out separate like this, so if you have any questions, we don't put it in the large group.
Anything else? Ms. Walker?
Aye.
Ms. Coughlin?
Aye.
Ms. Crawford?
Aye.
Aye. Item P, discussion and vote to approve or not approve the first read of the following handbooks. District procedure, TPS bus driver, TPS bus rider, athletic coaches, athletic student, and child nutrition. And this is simply for first read, so if we did see any mistakes in there, we can give this to staff. And otherwise, are there any questions? Oh, I need a motion first. Motion?
Oh, that's okay.
A second?
Second.
Okay, now any discussion? Alright, Ms. Walker?
Aye.
Ms. Coughlin?
Aye.
Ms. Crawford? And I. We need on Q, I need a motion to table items Q1 and 2 until the July regular meeting.
I'll make a motion to, I'll second.
Any discussion? Ms. Walker?
Aye.
Ms. Coughlin?
Aye.
Ms. Crawford?
Aye.
And I. Now we need a motion to approve the final read of items Q3 through 6.
I move to approve. Q3 through 6.
I second.
Any discussion? Ms. Walker?
Aye.
Ms. Coughlin?
Aye.
Ms. Crawford? And I. Item R, discussion and vote to approve or not approve any Capital Technology Center instructors Andrea McElmurray as adjunct instructor for academic credit in anatomy, and Amanda Butler and Gil Brown as adjunct instructors for academic credit in advanced math and science courses for the 22-23 school year. Do we have a motion?
I move to approve.
I'll second.
Discussion?
Yeah.
We have to officially approve them as instructors for the kids to get credit for those classes. All right, Ms. Walker?
Aye.
Ms. Kaufman?
Aye.
Ms. Crawford? And aye. Discussion and vote to approve or not approve the revised transfer policy. Do we have a motion?
I'll make a motion.
Second.
All right, any discussion?
Second.
All we did on this was we update the numbers for our transfers, and there was one change in there. When the law first was written, it was written that certified staff members, students could go to the school regardless of capacity, but now it's been written that all employees, like it should have been from the start, so all employees' kids are included, even if we're over capacity.
Great. Other questions? Ms. Walker? Ms. Kaufman?
Aye.
Ms. Crawford? And I. Item T, discussion and vote to approve or not approve the schedule of encumbrances. Do I have a motion?
I move to approve.
Second? Any discussion? Ms. Walker?
Aye.
Ms. Kaufman?
Aye.
Ms. Crawford?
Aye.
And I. Item U, vote and approve or not approve the meet and confer agreement for administrative supervisory personnel for the 22-23 FY. Do you have a motion to approve?
Make a motion. Second.
Discussion? Ms. Walker? Ms. Kaufman?
Aye.
Ms. Crawford? And aye. Discuss this, does anyone want to make the motion for B, because we got some things to read? Okay,
Do I need to? Okay. I'll make a motion to approve V1, 2, Allison Hunter. Do I need to read the job title myself?
yes,
Yes.
yes.
Heritage Special Care Para, Quinn Wooldridge, THS Teacher Coach, Shauna Batson. District Student Info and District Reporting Specialist, Lauren Ketcher, Sequoia Paraprofessional, Ashley Cochran, Sequoia Pre-K Teacher Pending Certification, Sheridan Thatcher, Sequoia Pre-K Teacher, Caitlin Morton, Greenwood PE Teacher, Haley Rutherford, THS Office Manager, Jeff McCoy, THS Math Teacher Pending Certification, Hannah Jordan, TMS Sped Teacher Pending Certification, Emily Myers, Elementary Teacher, Sam Hunt, Elementary Teacher Pending Certification, Shayla Cone, OPAT Educator. It's 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Sorry about that.
Got it? We have a second.
Second.
Any discussion? Ms. Walker?
Aye.
Ms. Crawford? Good. Ms. Kaufman?
You heard my name.
Aye.
And aye. I need to do that all, Rita did that too. She jumped around. The C has got me. We have new business. I will make a motion to approve the agreement with East Coast Migrants. Before do we have to motion for new business and then? Okay. Motion to approve the agreement with East Coast Migrant Head Start Project for Building Lee's 22-23 fiscal year. Do I have a second?
Second.
Okay. Any discussion? Ms. Walker?
Aye.
Ms. Kaufman?
Aye.
Ms. Crawford? And aye. I will vote to approve the employment rescission of Susan Tedder, THS Special Ed Teacher. Do I have a second? Any discussion? Ms. Walker?
Aye.
Ms. Kaufman?
Aye.
Ms. Crawford?
Aye.
And aye. Do we have a motion to adjourn?
I didn't make that.
I'll second that. Ms. Walker? Ms. Kaufman?
Aye.
Ms. Crawford?
Aye.
And aye, we are adjourned.